Hey, everybody. It's Friday here in Cypress, Texas. So, we're going to have a special um, podcast today. We're going to be talking about the drone business. And I got some people coming on. So, we're waiting. Um, the and we have some like legends in the industry coming on. The Let's see. All right. So, what I do is I help people attain their financial goals, and and that includes saving for the kids' college, paying off their mortgages, the building a retirement fund that's protected from inflation, taxes, market volatility, those kind of things. Well, I was in the drone business not as a drone pilot, but I marketed for a drone manufacturer, and that's really where I learned a lot. And then I marketed for a company that does all the image processing and data management for the military drones. Let's see what we got here. Yes, right on. The Come on, Andrew, are you on? Come on, are you on here, Andrew? Let's see. Got him. Let's see. I see you backstage. Let's bring you on. There we go. Pushed the wrong button. Oh, I'm so glad to have you on. Even if I just we just hear you. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing well. I'll show you a quick brief. Hold on one second. I'm get in my van or working on my van, so I'm doing all right.
All right. So I was telling everybody what the reason for this podcast. So my business is helping people achieve their financial goals, whether it's putting their kids through college, paying off their mortgage, having enough saved so they can retire, and they can do what they want to do. They're not beholden to anybody else. All right. And so I was in the early stages of the drone business when they were still like, was it going to be fixed wing or the hover type drones? They were still trying to figure that out. And I worked for one drone manufacturer, had a fixed wing, uh, design. And then I ended up representing a company that does all the image processing and data management for their military drones, and that's where I really learned a lot. My job was to find anybody doing anything with drones, whether it was precision ag, photogrammetry, lidar, um, geospatial applications, oil and gas exploration, all kinds of stuff that I was able to learn about, and and then the FAA put a blanket restriction on commercial drone operations, put me out of business. But I still got a huge database of people that are in the drone business. About a third of my LinkedIn profiles are somebody who's involved in the drone world. And I had somebody that's I'm helping them with their finances, and they have a daughter that's at that age, where they're not figuring anything, they're having a hard time figuring it out. They got driving their life, and I'm just probing. And she said that she had an interest in being a pilot. And I let her know that the Part 107 license. That's basically the ground school for becoming a pilot. She's like all excited because she has a drone, right? And so we're that's kind of what sparked this podcast. And I've gone and I'm looking at right now the statistics on the kind of money that somebody can make with a drone. And at the entry level, general commercial, $42,000 to $57,000 a year. That's like charging $25 to $50 an hour. The mid-tier, specialized, for inspections, whether it's pipelines or water towers or cell towers. That's a big one. Insurance claims, precision ag applications. That's between 75 and 95,000 a year. And then technically, like the lidar mapping and infrastructure, thermal analysis, oil and gas, and utility inspections. That's like 100 to 130,000 a year. And then aerospace, defense, that's like 120 to $215,000 a year. The average is like $79,000 a year. And then I got them broke it down for the precision ag applications, which is really interesting. With a multispectral camera, when it comes to like production assessments, what like people in the citrus business or avocados, right? They would prior to drones, they would count the amount of fruit they could see in a certain area, and then just multiply that by the area of their whole field, their whole orchard. That's how they used to do it. And now it's like they can get like 98% accuracy with a drone and in a multispectral camera. And then it's a big deal for like the cranberry industry, right? And they're all there. That's a big deal as far as their production estimates. So these are the kind of things and how much money that people can make, looking at anywhere from spraying pesticides to the looking for wilt or fungus or infestations with the drones, from $150,000 to $420,000 a year in that field. Okay, so with that said, I'm dying to hear what you can tell us.
You're talking to me, right?
Yeah, it's you and me right now.
Oh, okay. I didn't see. So hang on. Oh man, so I am really fortunate. I'm not focusing on the money as much as helping other veterans and disabled and the youth, because this is something that anybody that can move a little gimbal on with both hands or whatever, they can make that kind of money as long as they can fly the drone. They can make a lot of money. So my focus is that. And so I'm at the West LA VA, which is almost 400 acres of a plot of land in California, Southern California. And there's so much construction going on. They're building housing all over this place. And they're cleaning up the Japanese garden, and they're building what's it called? The Purple Line is going to be finishing up in about a year or so. And so all this construction, at least once a week, maybe twice a week, what we do is we have to fly over a specific area, and we pick that specific area for the day, for that week, and we capture the footage using software. Um, and then what that does is that turns it into a three-dimensional image as well. It's not LiDAR, which would be ideal, but it still does an amazing job. And so everybody involved, from the architects to the owners of the VA, are able to look and assess, okay, are they behind schedule? Are they ahead of schedule? How are they doing? Is it looking good so far? So that's huge. And what's really nice is we're allowed to fly up to 300 feet here. Typically it's 400 max, and it just makes it so easy. So we just say, okay, here we're going to do this day. We're going to do the purple line, and we're going to do the new police station and whatever, or this housing over here or that housing over there, and it's almost done or it's just beginning ground. So that's, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's one of the areas that
I,
we.
I had a, I had somebody that was doing the they would fly over every day on this one construction site, and
Yes.
would compile it. Like, you ever see the time lapse photography where they can basically showing it build out, right? And they're doing that because the contractor,
Right.
or the developer, wants to see the progress. They want to make sure that they're paying these guys and they're doing work that they're paying them for.
Exactly. That's it. That's the key. And the main, the bottom line on that one is we're also a few of us that are here are realizing, hey, let's, and it's we're looking for funding to support these veterans, to train them. We can train them, like you said, within a week they pass their 107, and now they have the ground school, and then we teach them the basic skills: forward, backward, up, down, right, left, and then we teach them intermediate and advanced skills. And then there's this drone racing league that's global, and other programs like that. So now we can teach these veterans all these different levels of training. And when you're racing a drone, you're not thinking about your PTS moments, because you're so focused on making it, not hitting anything, or or beating the other person that's flying in competition with you. So, and like you said, there's so many jobs. If you are money motivated, you can easily make a six-figure income. You just have to practice. And once we get the school up and running, would like to work with vocational rehabilitation and any other programs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the cost has come down significantly. It's about $170 to get a course that'll get your Part 107 license.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then the cost for you can get a drone, you can get a DJI Mini or a Phantom for
uh,
like $300.
yeah, off market.
Yeah,
There's that political controversy, which I don't want to get into here, but sadly, DJI really knows how to build consumer drones. They build, and they used to have it to where it was built for the consumer, inexpensive, and high quality customer service, high quality. If you break a drone, you have a special, you just turn it in and they either fix it or give you a new one. Now with all this political stuff, because it's made in China,
right.
it,
Yeah, all the data gets collected by China. They're mapping the United States via drone pilots. I'm
but
familiar with that. Yeah.
it's not true, and they've verified that it's not true, but they're still on the list. And a lot of us joke about it. That thing in my hand right now is made in China, and it's with me all the time. And then there's the satellites. They can pick up all kinds of stuff, and they have high quality cameras. So, and that's so between those two alone, it's more than this hullabaloo with drones. And it's, you know, I can't say for sure, but it's definitely keeping the little person, the person who doesn't have the money, from really finding a drone that works with them, that's user friendly, and can allow them to take it to the next level into the competitive or the professional realm.
So, okay, so I stumbled on a couple things that the trade-off between safety and cost made total sense. One of those was laying out the cables for fracking.
Yes.
So here in Texas, they'll every 25 yards they put out these seismic sensors in grid from anywhere from 5 square miles to 50 square miles, and they would hire helicopter pilots, and they're flying about 1,000 feet, and they're laying out these. They got guys jumping out of the helicopter, laying out these sensors, and then they're at 1,000 feet, so they can pick up the Wi-Fi signal, which those sensors are given their battery life and their lat and long. And then when they get them, they're all working. They're all sending out those, the battery life and the lat and long. They're all working. They'll do a seismic blast, and then they police them all up, and they'll do it 3 times. So it takes a day for a 5 square miles if you got a helicopter, but you're paying that helicopter pilot like $2,000 an hour.
Right.
Right. And it's a safety issue because at 1,000 feet, if something goes wrong, it's high enough where it's going to hurt you when that helicopter crashes. And it's not high enough to get the auto rotate going on to be able to land, control the landing. And so, looking at these, what you'd pay a
Yeah.
a drone pilot, you're paying you probably pay that guy like $300 for the day to do the same thing. That might take a little bit longer, okay, but it's a lot safer for one, and it's significantly cost effective doing that. The other one was high tension power line inspections. Those guys that do that, I mean, I was a free fall jump master. I used to, stick my head out the back of a C-130, at 12,500 feet and spot the jump, right? But these guys that are on they got a little platform, and they got a cable that's a safety cable connected to them, which is, hairy enough. But then they're like leaning out over high tension power lines, checking to make sure. I mean, that's like, okay, yeah, you're up there, you're hanging out there in the air, but you're also messing with, you touch two power lines, and you break, you cause that short. You're the short. You're fried, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where that's like cuckoo, right? If you're doing that, that's like it. But a drone could do it. The drone can't fix it, but it can find the problem. Then the guy can get a ladder or a cherry picker and get up there and fix the repair, right? And so, but it's a big safety issue. The safety is the main benefit for those kind of things.
And we're talking easy 6 figures for that job.
Yeah, right. And there's, I mean, you're not hearing a lot about the fracking right now. the price of oil isn't high enough for the guys to start going back to the fracking, right? But we're getting close. We're getting close to that threshold right now. And but these are all these different things that, I see. I was running and through the neighborhood. I have to run through this little neighborhood to the park. I'll do two laps around the park, and it's like 4 miles total, right? And I literally saw one of those Amazon drones delivering a package.
Right? Yeah, that's another fun one.
That's a little. I mean, how are they doing that? They're going beyond the line of sight, right?
That's another license, BLOS license. So you add that. I got the name.
It's a what?
It's another license. I think it's the 108 license. So it adds to it, or it's an addendum or something like that. So we've been talking about it, and it allows you that ability to use, go beyond, what is it, 300 feet. It's been a while since I took the test, and I haven't been studying every day. So you're allowed 400 feet up. Oh, 3 miles. There it is. As long as you can see the drone, 3 miles, which it's got to be a big drone, then you're able to the regular license. But with this new one, they've been talking about it, and that's why Amazon and FedEx and all these others are starting to do that. But again, it's a commercial drone, and most of them are even above the 55-pound weight limit for the 107. So there's a lot of
there's a guy. He was one of the instructors for the Unmanned Vehicle University.
Okay.
And he was a software developer. He was the guy that developed the heavy lifting drones with the coaxial rotors.
Okay.
And they use they'll carry 2 of those red cameras. So they're like, it can carry like 200 pounds, and they use those for the 3D movies.
Right.
So he was the pilot for the Expendables 2 and the Lord of the Rings movies. He flew the drones for those.
Yeah, now they're coming out with even, handheld 360 cameras that are just impressive.
What I had a friend of mine. He's still a friend of mine, but he was like the top land surveyor in the country.
Wow.
And because he was the first guy to learn how to use a robotic surveyor scope and a handheld GPS. So he could do more by himself than a 4-man team could do. And I was always, trying to get him to, use the drones, but he said the accuracy wasn't close enough. It was like 2 centimeters, and they needed like 2 millimeters accuracy. Well, now they're at the 2 millimeters accuracy for photogrammetry and LiDAR with the drones. What do you know about the LiDAR and photogrammetry applications?
I'm not tuned in yet, but that's a part of why I want to get a really nice strategic partner to be a part of us, because we can teach LiDAR, photogrammetry, and all that. I mean, we have on this campus, we have a 15-acre farmland. And so we can teach the veterans about that. And then instead of doing like at the Japanese garden, you can't really take pictures from above because you've got the trees that are covering the whole property. So I had to go in with the 360 camera and walk the entire location for it to get that image as well. But with LiDAR and
Oh,
all
so
that,
that the guys that do the real estate photography,
yeah,
if you ever seen those videos, it looks like it goes all around the property and then it goes into the door and then you get the whole house, right? The guy's not flying a drone through the house. He's walking his drone backwards through the house
right.
and then
Now,
launching it out the front door.
and now,
And that's how they do those videos, right? They just play them in reverse.
or well, nowadays it's been updated because with the FPV drones, you can fly 'em, and they even have really nice FPV drones that are follow me features. If you watch all these podcasters and all that, they have the phone, the drone on their hand, and they say, "Okay, follow me," and you go into the building, and it follows you, and you just explain stuff. But with the 360 cameras, they don't need a drone. They just bring the camera and put it on their head, and it eliminates most of their head, and it shows them, and so you can do your own walkthrough by doing that.
Well, so if I got so with what I do,
Yeah.
okay, I'm always, I and this is where with what I do clashes with like accountants, okay, where um I used to be a mortgage broker,
Right.
and so these people, these wealthy people, they get these smart accountants that
Yeah.
that help them take all these deductions to lower their effective their annual adjusted gross income,
Mhm.
right? But they got to get the house or get the loan, they have to have enough income to qualify. So I got to call up the accountant and go, okay, this guy's got to show for the last 2 years this much on average on this much money. Well, they can't go back and readjust the income from the year before. So the current year, they have to increase the guy's cash flow enough to make that 2-year average work, but he's going to pay more in taxes that year.
Right.
Right. And so, but when it comes to like with what I'm trying to do to help somebody be able to achieve their financial goals, just to give you an example, if I had this 22-year-old automotive mechanic,
Right.
and he was making 60 grand a year. He had his apartment, he had a house, he had had his cable, had his cell phone, he had food in the fridge, and had average like $1,000 left over at the end of the month. And I called him up because, oh man, I'm glad you called me, man. I got everything. I got about $1,000. I was going to go get another tattoo, but I showed him that at his age and good health, putting $650 away every month, that by the time he's 57, he's a millionaire. Okay. Well, most people, it's very hard to get somebody to stop spending the way they're spending. Instead of going out to eat, buy the groceries, cook at home, save some money, right? Instead of spending $650 a month eating out, they can spend $120 a month and eat at home. Okay. It's difficult to get somebody to change those habits, but if they can, but it's really, if I can show somebody how to make more money, a significant amount of money, enough to be able to fund their future before they spend that money, that's what I do, right? So
Right.
this young guy, he's making 60 grand a year. I was telling him Ocean Corp here in Houston, they teach underwater welding.
Right.
Okay. They still have to get the FAA Part 107 license to operate the underwater drones. Who'd have thought that would ever happen? The FAA is going to be regulating underwater drones, right? But that's what's going on. But with that Part 107 license, that guy could go buy a DJI Mini,
Yeah.
and get a contract to inspect oil and gas pipelines or water tower inspections, right? And now, bam, he's just increased his income using the same knowledge base to fund his future, right?
And the latest minis have a 1-inch sensor, so it can do a lot of the professional videos and photography.
Right, right. You know, the challenge is with the DJI. Well, it all depends on who you have at the VA, okay? Because under the VRNE
Right?
in California, they're going to pay. The VA will pay for your Part 107 license, and they might even get you a grant, or you'll be eligible for a grant to buy a drone.
Huh.
And now you're in business, right? But here in Houston,
Yeah.
there's this. I've never met this lady. I've never talked to this lady. I just hear about her. That she's like, she won't, like, you can put your application in for the VRNE, but if you say you're getting the drone business, she won't approve it.
Well, we're hopefully going to be changing that soon, because I've spoken with the voc rehab specialist here, and like you said, we'll get that funding. We'll have the school. We have the instructors ready to go, and we'll pump it out, and we'll show that these veterans that are graduating are getting either employment or internship or both, all of the above, whatever. And then we'll address that lady, and she'll be in trouble if she wants to continue that.
Yeah, I mean, we need somebody, because I live right between Tunnels to Towers
Oh,
and
wow.
Camp Hope.
Okay.
Okay, so the Tunnels to Towers, that's a transitional housing facility for veterans coming into Houston,
Right.
and they help them. You know, they give them a place to stay, and hang on. They give them a place to stay and food to eat, right? While they're trying to get, while they get it established, they get an income, or they, a lot of I don't even know if this lady's still working there, but last time I talked to her, she was extremely frustrated because she wants to get them jobs. She wants to get them into voc rehab training for whatever, welding, HVAC, electrical, something, right? And but they're not motivated. All they're trying to do is increase their disability so they can watch video games and play video games all day, right? But the guy at the Camp Hope, now those are veterans that are ate up with PTSD. A lot of them have substance abuse issues, right? And once they get clean and they're like functional again, they're motivated. And of course he's also a hard driver, right? He's got that Marine Corps DI background, and you do what he tells you, and you do it right now, right? And so they're a different mindset, but they're good candidates for something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they'll get on it, right? And it's I remember, so when the very beginning, I am trying to find uses for drones, right? I got way back, right? And like one of the first calls I ever made was to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. And their head of air operations was their police helicopter pilot. And when I showed him what these drones could do, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Oh, these drones are going to take our jobs."
Yeah.
Right? And it was, he completely missed because he's already got a license. With his pilot's license, he's already eligible for drones. Do you
Right.
know how when you register on the FAA website,
Yes.
you got your profile, you got your license, you got what type of drone you're flying, right? And what kind of disciplines you're operating in. You'll start getting contacted for people that want to hire you as a drone pilot. Did you know that?
I'll have to look that up. What you're saying.
Yeah, it's like marketing cranked right in. As long as you're set up
Right.
and you got so somebody who's looking for a drone pilot for whatever application, they go on there and they like, okay, this guy's got the sensors and the type of drone that we're looking that can do the job, right? He's got experience. Okay, bang, they reach out and offer. They'll tell you how much they'll pay and everything, just like that.
I do know, working here in LA, that all the government agencies, the FBI, the sheriffs, the police department, the highway patrol, they're all really interested, and they already have at least one. Most of them have one pilot, and they're expanding. And the way I look at it is, you get a good quality drone, you can do high-speed chases, you can do you know, it's a toss up between, you're talking underwater, there's also land, so they have robot dogs, which work the same way, just on the ground. But instead of going in and having to be concerned about your own health or your team's health, you send a drone or you send a dog in, and it has cameras all over, and they can see, oh, that room's clear, and then they're able to go right on in. So there's
Yeah, that's another application is for insurance for
yes,
auto accidents, right?
insurance is huge.
And so, yeah,
They're
so
all
somebody, yeah, so that's huge, man, for because they're trying to avoid fraud. That's one thing, right? And they want to get the evidence right away. You know, you see, in case somebody got killed or severely injured or whatever, right? Or there's a
right,
lot of damage. They want to have that data pronto, like right away,
right.
right?
And
And
a lot,
so actually, there's uh the the insurance companies are looking for drone pilots to be on call to cover those accidents
yeah,
right now. I don't even know if they get paid, but I know that's a big deal, right? So there's all kind. I mean, you can the construction inspection or monitoring applications. That's a big one, right? And then there's the public safety applications. That everything from fire to armed robberies, automobile accidents, and where you're the insurance companies are covering those costs. That's who's paying you, right?
yeah.
And there's the precision ag applications, where uh, these this is wild. The precision ag applications,
Oh wow,
the
that's really
those guys. So prior to drones, they have these ag consultants, and they charge like 5 cents an acre, right? And they're looking for a couple things. There's it's like fire. You need oxygen, fuel, and heat. and you got a fire, right? Well, to grow crops, you got to have, fertilizer, nutrients in the soil, sunlight, and water. And if you have all three of those together, you're probably going to have a good crop. Okay. And so, and then bugs, insects only attack the plants that are weak. All right. They're either not getting enough nutrients in the soil, not enough sunlight, or not enough water. Okay. And what they used to do for for 5 cents an acre, they would walk the fields. Right. Well, now they can charge an additional 5 or 10 cents an acre with the drone and save themselves significant amount of time flying those rows of corn or whatever else, soybean or whatever it is, right? But they can pinpoint where the infestations are, right, with the bugs. Exactly what kind of bug is eating them, right? All those things for the precision ag sector.
Right. And with thermography, you can see, is there too much water? Is there not enough water? Or is there just right water? And that is also a huge factor. Like you were saying, it's one of the 3 main elements.
So what I do when I'm talking to somebody, like when it comes to different trades, like if somebody's a barber or a hairstylist, if they get certified as a wig maker, they can significantly increase their income,
right?
Because they get these people that have alopecia or survive chemo and radiation, and the health insurance companies pay for those prosthetic wigs.
Yeah.
Okay. You got a welder, okay, and he gets certified to fly a drone. Not only is he going to get charged, be able to charge for the work of breaking out his cutting torch and his welder and repairing it, but he also gets paid to fly the drone. On a regular basis, as an inspecting whatever it is, the pipeline or water tower or the power lines, right? All those things, right? The same thing with the public safety side, right? That there's all kinds of applications for that. Is there anything that when I'm talking about this comes to mind that you can enlighten people about?
Well, the things that we haven't talked about is the windmills. They're doing inspection on the windmills. That's huge. Solar panel inspection, not just solar panel inspection, but cleaning. They have these drones that either attach a hose to it or a tank to it, and you can wash windows and solar panels. And the windows on these skyscrapers are, now you don't have to climb outside and do the windows. You have the drone do it for you, and you just have to be safety minded of all the wind factors and all that other stuff. But that's a nice little income if you want to do that.
Yeah, that cost, just that safety application, that's evident, right? That's evident. Right. I'm sure the insurance companies would prefer that than having somebody hanging off the side of your building on a cable that might snap, right?
What people don't realize is they try to clean their solar panels on their roof with the hose. The hose isn't filtered, so you're creating a cement-like environment over the solar panel. So instead of it cleaning off, you've got it so caked on that you might not be able to get it off. So that's where these special drones have water filtration and special chemicals that clean off the solar panel, get you back up to the brand new efficiency, and so you're saving money by having your drone, drone cleaning company come once or twice a year, depending on where you're living. If you're living in Coachella Valley, you got to do it fairly often because the wind whips that dirt and dust and throws it on the solar panels.
So, are these companies that do the window cleaning and solar panel cleaning? They have the equipment. They're just looking for people that have the licenses to do the work.
Yeah, as they get more popular and they expand their, because to get a drone, you're talking a good sized drone, um, 4 or 5 feet by 4 or 5 feet. You need a truck or a van that holds the drone. You need the water filtration. It's over $100,000 just to get each drone. It's not much to get it up and running, the whole kit. But once they get it going, now you need two pilots at least. One being the visual observer, so one that watches for trees or chimneys or anything like that, and the other one that's focused on the cleaning of the solar panel. And then, you know, the skyscrapers, you're going to probably have someone monitoring the weather to see if the wind is changing. So you pull away from the building, because when you're right at that building and that wind whips the wrong way, you either go into the building or you go down. Now, the other cool part about that is they're making parachutes for drones. So if there's a problem with the propellers, it lands safely and it doesn't attack someone. And
Or they're like there was a guy there was a video of somebody that was flying the Grand Canyon, and their drone ran out of battery. It couldn't make it back, and it ended up falling into the canyon. So they could have had a parachute on that. At least made it so it when they did go down to find it, it wouldn't be damaged. That's crazy. That's amazing.
there's some
That's
there's some
really interesting.
there's some funny YouTube videos. People don't check their batteries. And on top of that, they don't wait for the home point to be recalibrated for that area. So their home point might be 3 miles away, and the battery might go to 30%, and it goes flying, 3 miles away, and it dies. So
So how did you get the gig to do the
the real
construction surveillance?
well, I
Like the
came
production, what do they call it? The
a drone pilot.
production monitoring.
I
Yeah, the
I'm
construction monitoring. Yeah.
I'm just a drone pilot working with the chief drone pilot in hospital at the hospital here. But I went up to the police and I said, according to the FAA, I can legally fly 300 feet here. I want to be able to fly my drone, um, because there's some great spots, even this place that I'm at right now, the Rose Garden. And they said, it's not up to us. We don't care. You need to talk to the hospital leaders. So I did. And I showed them my license, and they and I said, oh, by the way, are you looking for volunteers? And they said yes. And so about a year and a half ago, that's when I started. And now and at the beginning, I was saying, hey, we need to do some training for the veterans. And so we've got an Air Force veteran who's also a retired FAA, and he's creating the curriculum. We're working on, like I was saying, the funding and the strategic partnerships with organizations and companies that want to help us on a regular basis. And I just finally connected about a week ago with the vocational rehabilitation people. And so the ball is slowly moving, but in time, we'll get it going.
Well, Gene Robinson, and he was supposed to come on too, but he got hung up with the Skydio drones. They're like the alternative to DJI, right? And they got him, tied up training pilots. So I may have to have him on another time. But he does the training for the University of Austin Community College.
Nice.
So he does that, and he used to be one of the trainers for the Unmanned Vehicle University. But he was the guy. He's the one that sued the FAA to open up the airspace. So he was doing search and rescue.
Wow. Right.
And he's there's some famous cases with child abductions where or missing persons where he's flown it was a fixed wing drone. You just throw it up in the air and it would fly around, and they would have somebody monitoring the video live and go through or frame by frame, and they could detect the changes in the color of the vegetation.
Yeah,
and that was an indicator that body was starting to decompose, and fluids were running out of it, which was killing the grass and stuff around the person, the body. And so which is really crazy, because he found an attorney to represent him pro bono.
Wow.
And I had that guy's name, and they won that case. They won the lawsuit, but then it was overturned in appeal. This is crazy, because the cease and desist was delivered via email.
Oh my God.
And you cannot serve anybody for divorce or a lawsuit via email. So because of that, he didn't collect the money from the lawsuit, but that precedent is what caused the FAA to have to open up the airspace and develop their licensing program. And so that was Gene Robinson. So he lives here in Wimberley, Texas. And so I know I've known him for years, but we were going to have him on. So we'll probably have another podcast with him on. But I was really glad you come on. I mean, the main focus for me is this is an opportunity for somebody to make more money, right?
Yep.
It's really hard for me. It's really frustrating for me when I sit down with somebody and, I see they just have enough to survive, and they don't have enough to be able to start, funding their future for their retirement or their kids' college or whatever, or pay off that mortgage faster, all that kind of stuff. I got great strategy to pay that mortgage off faster, but you need an additional cash flow, to start adding that, a little bit extra, right? Whatever it's the pill method or the debt roll-up strategy or the infinite banking strategy or family banking strategy, whatever you want to call it, you got to have enough money. Yeah. So I learned, and I started off doing it in the hair business, because like those prosthetic wigs, on the low end, they're between $800 and like $3,500 a pop, and if you go into chemo, radiation, or have alopecia, the health insurance companies will pay for those prosthetic wigs.
Right.
So those that's a significant income. So that's where it first started. I could show somebody from at that level, right, how they can significantly, and they don't have a pension or 401k as a hairstylist. If they don't save their money, they don't have a retirement plan,
right,
they'll stand behind a chair the rest of their life. There'll be a grandma having people come into their kitchen and so they can do their hair, so they can, buy the groceries or whatever, right? So so then it started developing, and I started seeing that if somebody had their Part 107 license and they were entrepreneurial minded enough, they could have different drones set up with different sensors to do the photogrammetry and LiDAR with one. They could have another one that did the, with the hyperspectral camera doing, you know, uh, production estimates for produce, in an orchard or you know, a farm, right? That you could, there were, you could have one for public safety. You could have one for real estate. You could have like 4 drones and basically 4 different businesses just with that one license.
Right. And it's not that much money, and it doesn't take much.
That's $175. Yeah.
And here's the other cool part. They are now making simulators that are very impressive. So you don't even need to practice with your drone, because that sometimes is hard. Where do I fly my drone safely to where I'm not going to get in trouble? Is there a restriction today because of the government or whoever is put in place, or any of these things? You just
Yeah. I
open up.
actually knew the guy. I knew the guy that one of the first guys that started doing that in Dallas
Right.
has got that. Yeah. The simulator for flying the drones. Yep.
And you can practice. And if it's a high quality simulator, it counts as your flight hours too.
Yeah. We need to because you could be, having a resource to direct people to, the Ocean Corp to get certified as a underwater welder and get your Part 107 license in the process, right? Or other like people like this guy in Dallas that has the drone simulator, right? These are things. See, people. Yeah, everything's easy when you know the answer, right?
Yeah.
I had a broker that had an MBA and went to law school, and they taught him that in law school. But that's, when people are struggling to try to, figure out how to, make more than just enough, to, get up every day and go to work and then do what somebody else tells them and come home and, stuck in traffic, and, your life is not your own anymore. Right. And people get tired of that, and if they could just find a way to create an extra margin that they can do something with, and that's where I come in, I can help them with that, then they can free up their life. Right. Yeah. So we need to, thank you for coming on. This went real fast. There's a lot of information. It was good to have you on the camera. Yeah, and I'll send you the videos after I get them produced, and all the shorts for this. Okay. And they use it for your marketing.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And then when you start making making more money, that you need to do something with it, I'll help you with that. I help. My website is mybusinessisyourbusiness.info. I started doing that because a lot of people in the industry won't help a small business owner get started with their 401k and their profit sharing and the cash balance strategies. And because it takes a long time and you don't make a lot of money doing it. But I get other business out of that. If they've got a rollover for an old 401k from the previous company, or they need, life insurance outside their job. They want to save for the kids' college. Those kind of things I'll get from helping that business get started. So a drone business is a business. You can have a 401k, profit sharing, cash balance strategies. There's a lot of things you can do with a business.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. And like I said, I'll send you the video once I get it all finished.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.